This week I am behind the wheel of the Acura TLX Type S. That makes this the top tier trim, costing about $57,000, and it has all of the tech goodies that you can possibly get on this model. So what I want to do in this video is just a quick tech check and kind of walk you through what is going on here. So my name is Jill Ciminillo, and this week's car du jour is an Acura TLX. First up, let's just do a quick interior walk around so that you can see what I'm looking at in more detail. So first off, you have this digital display, which I'll be honest with you is not terribly configurable. You have your trip computer here, you have your little car graphic here, and then you have your tachometer there. If you do scroll through your dynamic modes, you do get a little bit of a change up going on here. So and a cool graphic here, so we'll just kind of scroll through those and you can see how the gauge cluster changes based on which drive mode you are in. But that's about it as far as configuration is going. Now, the other thing that I'm going to point out that I really like about this right here, even though it's not configurable, is this right here. So you have that little representation of your vehicle. We saw this in the Acura MDX that I reviewed a couple weeks ago, so this is nothing new. Let's be clear, this is nothing new, but I just think it is cool. And the idea is when I put my foot on the brakes, you can see the brakes on the vehicle light up. When I turn on a blinker, the little blinker goes. And if you turn your headlights on, you can also see the headlights turn on. So at any rate, it's the little stupid simple things sometimes that amuse me, and that amuses me. Now, the next thing you have going on is you have this screen right here, which, by the way, you can't really touch it. So this is not a touch screen. I accidentally reached out a couple of times and tried to touch it and forgot, but not a touch screen. So instead, what you have is this right here, which controls this right here. Now, they call this I want to say it's the True Touchpad. And the idea is that if you touch different areas on this pad, it correlates to the different areas that you are touching on the screen. So the thought is you can be looking ahead and you just know, okay, if I touch in the upper right-hand corner, it's going to highlight that. And then if I move over a little bit, it's going to touch that. And you just kind of, here, we'll just kind of go like this. You just kind of go through your different spaces, and missed one there. And that is actually the problem. So while you are going through these different things, you have to kind of touch exactly where it is. And to me, while driving, that isn't super easy. And I definitely, so I started doing more of a slide, which you can do, but that's not the point of this. And you can do like a little bit of a swipe as you're going through. But to me, this is not terribly intuitive. Maybe it's something that you would get used to as a driver, but in the MDX, be sure to watch that review. I really liked the touchscreen. They did a good job with it. Because what they did is they moved the screen a little bit forward, they got rid of this, and then you have your phone charger, and they kind of moved that up to a more logical location. But this is what we have in the TLX. So a couple of other things you have going on. You have your home button, you have your back button, and then this right here is going to be showing the cards that are available in the split screen. And then this right here allows you to kind of swipe through what the cards you've got in your split screen. So volume knob, all of that. All right, so that's just kind of a general overview of what's going on here. Let's dig into this a little bit more. I figured I would just start with this general screen because, again, you have to do a little bit of a swipe or a true touch position to be able to hit the different icons. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not hitting it every time correctly. This, I think, was the only thing that I did correctly every time. But what you also have on here is a navigation system that is not Google Maps. So when we were looking at the Acura MDX, I did show you that they had started to adopt the Google built-in system. They have not adopted Google built-in yet on the TLX. Now, we know that TLX sales are down, so it's TBD whether or not Acura is going to continue with this amazing sedan. But I would anticipate if they do, they're going to be doing a refresh soon, and this right here is probably going to be on the chopping block. So you will be getting rid of, the fact that the screen is so far away, and you would be getting rid of this touchpad. The other thing I'm going to point out is I am not currently parked in front of my house, so if you're trying to find me based on this, it's not going to work. Okay, now that we have gotten that out of the way, let's scroll through some of this. So one of the nice things you do have is Apple CarPlay, and it is wireless. You do get your Apple Maps, your text messages, your voicemails, and all of the things that don't have to come in while you're sitting in the vehicle. So these text messages and voicemail messages came in before I got in, and I have easy access to them. And then, if I wanted to, again, swipe through some of these things, I've got my podcasts that are readily available. I also like that the podcasts show up in the split screen over here, so I can access things that way. But then, I can just always go back to my home screen by hitting the little home button right here. Now, I will point out that when you are in Apple CarPlay, there is also an Acura button, and if you hit that, it would take you back to your home screen. So what else do we have going on here? You have your Bluetooth, your AM radio, FM radio, but what you do not have is Sirius XM radio. Acura has started to remove XM radio from their in-car apps, and the idea is that they would like you to download Sirius XM radio to your Apple CarPlay or to your phone, and then you could play it through Apple CarPlay. So, I don't know. How do you feel about that? I think that's an interesting move from Acura, and I didn't realize that on the MDX because I wasn't listening to music, but somebody pointed it out in the comments, and I was like, huh. So I went back to Acura, and they're like, yeah, we just figured, download it to your phone and then use it through Apple CarPlay. I actually kind of like that because you can take it with you. What do you think? Interesting move. At any rate, so you have your menus here, and you have like a vertical menu here, and then you can go through your settings here. And again, this True Touchpad doesn't work very well for me. And this is going to allow you to do some different items. And then so then to scroll through, you have to come to this side of the pad and then hit here. Okay. So you have the different capabilities and the ability to go through here. One of the interesting things that I saw as you go through, you can adjust your camera and go into your surround view settings, and you can set up the guidelines. I really like the dynamic guidelines. You've got cross traffic monitoring on, but this right here I thought was interesting. Somebody had turned this off. I like to be able to see the front and the rear cameras, and like when you are doing parallel parking and things like that, and they had actually turned this off so that I put it into reverse, the camera was on, but then when I shifted into drive, the camera turned off. So now we've got it on, so the camera will stay on when you are, going from reverse to drive in tight parking situations. So that's an option. If you don't like it, you can turn it off too. Okay. So what else do we have going on here? Your radio, your navigation. Like I said, this is not going to be your Google embedded navigation. You don't have Google built in here. So you just have more of the Acura native system. And I mean, the graphics aren't bad. I don't dislike the way this looks. I just don't like this. What do we have going on in terms of ambient lighting? So you can change your brightness as well as the light theme. And it looks like right now we've got it in sport, You also have some different color themes, and unfortunately, because it's daylight, you can't really see what's going on, but you've got the ambient lighting that kind of shows up on the dash and then in the footwells. And so you have some color combos going on, Bourbon Street, and actually you have a lot of nice options there. And then you also can change your theme. So we are currently in dynamic mode, which was all the way up here at the top. And, or if you go into, currently in dynamic mode or going into dynamic mode, it essentially changes your colors based on which drive theme you're in. So, I mean, that's kind of cool. But if you want to select it and you want to be a little bit more specific, you can do that too. So, a few options in terms of your ambient lighting. And I'm going to scroll over here because I will notice you do have Alexa built in also, which, you know, allows you to connect to your car, connect to your home, and would allow you to do things like turn on your lights or open your garage door opener if you have a connected home, just by using voice commands. So a lot of cars are starting to put Alexa into their head units, and yeah, I like it. Now, what else do I want to talk about in terms of the tech inspection? I will point out you do have an AT&T hotspot. So this is going to be a subscription fee, and it is different than your phone. So you will have to have a separate plan if you would like to have a Wi-Fi hotspot in this vehicle. If you are using AT&T as your carrier, you can add it to your plan, but it is still going to be a separate plan. So you can't just use your phone hotspot as your hotspot in the vehicle. It is separate. So just a heads up on that. I've been having a lot of conversations lately with people about subscription fees and vehicles, and every vehicle in 2024 has some kind of a subscription fee that you can opt for. You don't have to do it, but you can opt for it. And it usually has to do with your navigation updates or your Wi-Fi hotspots or app access. So things like remote start and accessing your vehicle when you aren't near your vehicle, like if you wanted to unlock or lock your doors, things like that are also subscription fees. So just make sure, no matter what car you're buying, whether it's the Acura TLX or anything else from any other automaker, ask the question, what features will have a subscription fee? Because usually they come with a free trial, and dealers might neglect to tell you that. Now, to round out this tech check, I do want to talk a little bit about this right here, the wireless charger. In the MDX that I was driving a couple weeks ago, it actually did really well, charged my phone, didn't overheat my phone, and, I actually like the location moved up a little bit, but I will point out that I did have problems with the charger in this specific vehicle because it did heat up my phone, it did stop charging, and I got an error message on it saying, phone is too hot, must stop charging, or, something to that effect. But essentially said that it was not charging my phone because this had overheated my phone. And I have a lot of people tell me, well, it's your case, it's your phone, it's not the vehicle, it's you. I use a wireless charger on my phone every night when I'm sleeping, and it never overheats. And there are vehicles that I can get into that I do not have a problem with. So I don't think it's just me. That's the end of that story. But this doesn't work very well, and it did overheat my phone such that it stopped charging, and I got an error message. So just know that. And that was only after about an hour. That was after an hour. So, okay. The other thing that I want to talk about, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see this really well, but I'm short. I have a far forward driving position. So when I put my elbow on this, okay, it kind of puts my hand in the right position, but I have to kind of go like this more often than not to be able to touch this touchpad in the right way. And one of the comments that I got on the MDX video was that people really liked this hand rest thing. But I will say that it's not going to be an ideal location for a petite driver. It is, which is fine because, there's only 5% of drivers are my size. So for the majority of drivers, this is going to be great. But if you are on the petite side of things, or maybe even on the tall side of things, this might not be positioned ideally for you. And I don't know. I found it very awkward to be able to use this, and I did more of a this rather than a this when I was adjusting. So make sure you do a longer test and you actually play around with this infotainment system if this is a vehicle you are looking at, because this could be something that gets really annoying really fast and kind of grates on your nerves if you don't like it or if this isn't positioned properly for you. Now, the other thing that I will point out is I do like the position of the cup holders. It didn't really interfere with anything while I was adjusting the touchpad or, you know, having my hand rested here, you know, if I needed to touch my phone for any reason. And so I like having the cup holders kind of out of the way. All right, I would really just like some feedback from you and thoughts on this touchpad. There was a whole movement about 10 years ago where everybody was moving away from touchscreens, or touchscreens didn't exist, and they used trackpads, mouses, touchpads, dials, anything you could think of to not have you touch the screen. And there's several different systems out there, from Mazda to Lexus to BMW, and I'm curious, how do you feel about these systems that are not touchscreen or that have dual opportunities to touch or to use the controller? Do you like them? Do you just want a touchscreen? A lot of people don't like putting fingerprints on their screen, so they prefer to have something like this instead of putting fingerprints on the screen. So sound off below. What do you think about systems, and what specifically do you think about this system? This is not my preference. I certainly liked the trackpad or the dial from Mazda better, but what do you think? Tell me below. All right. I guess there are two more things I want to talk about before I close out this review. And the first is kind of major, and that is your push button gearing. I know a lot of people want a traditional shifter, but Acura has opted to do this push button gearing, and it's just push for park, push for reverse, push for drive, push for neutral. It's very obvious. It's very obvious, and I think this is one of those things you could get used to, but a lot of people initially have a very visceral reaction to it, and they hate it or they love it. I'm kind of ambivalent. It's just something for me to get used to. So let's go find a parallel parking spot, and that will show you the cameras. Okay, there we go. We have one on the right. All right, so we pop it into reverse and the backup camera turns on, and you've got your dynamic guidelines, so it shows where the vehicle trajectory is as you are starting to move. So I like the dynamic lines, and I like the clarity of the cameras. And you can see as I'm getting close to an obstacle, you've got an audible alert as well as a visible alert. And here it shows yellow because I'm not that close, but then as I get closer, it turns orange and then red. And when I pop it back into drive, the camera stays on so that I can see how close I am to the vehicle in front of me, and I just can center out my car. So I like the camera system. I like having it so that it goes on and stays on when you pop it into drive. Now, as we are getting out of the space, you know, the camera comes back on, shows you the trajectory with the orange lines, and the camera will stay on. So I'm about 8 miles per hour there, lovely speed bump. The camera will stay on, okay, until you get about 15 miles per hour. All right, that is what I have for you on the brief tech check for the 2024 Acura TLX Type S. So to recap, we've got push button gearing, we've got forward and reverse cameras, and an around view camera that is actually pretty good. We have a phone charger that overheats your phone, and we have a true touchpad, but no touchscreen. So I'd be very curious, what are your thoughts on the technology in the 2024 Acura TLX Type S? Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time with a new car du jour.